It's on the roll, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. I hope you got cameras on this, because this is one huge piece of history. Oh, wow. Experiment of landing the modified Curtiss pusher aboard a ship was done under the guidance of Navy Captain Washington Irving Chambers and the aircraft designer Glenn Curtiss. The USS Pennsylvania and her skipper Captain Frog Pond figured prominently in several attempts by Chambers and Curtiss to bring naval aviation to shipboard operations. The fragile aircraft you see flying today is a replica of that pusher. What you will not hear is the roaring thunder of mighty jets, the angry hornet sounds of the aerobatic wonders flying at today's show, but what you will see is the state of the art in aviation from a century ago. This airplane flies for you today in tribute to the 100th anniversary of naval aviation and of the sailors and airmen who manned the carriers and flew flat tops in defense of our country. This Curtiss pusher is every carrier pilot's DNA, the anchor from which an impressive list of tailhook fighters and bombers have evolved, including today's F/A-18 Hornet and F-35C Joint Strike Fighter. From that primitive 130-foot wooden deck aboard the USS Pennsylvania in 1911, and the Navy's first true aircraft carrier, the USS Langley in 1922, to the massive Ford-class supercarriers under construction today, thousands of naval aviators have trapped aboard the carrier pilot's mantra of meatball, airspeed, and lineup. And it all began with the awkward-looking aircraft you see out to show left right now. As you watch and listen to the Curtiss, you won't see any daredevil barnstorming tricks and thrills. You will see the state-of-the-art in airplanes of 100 years ago when America was just emerging as a world power. The Ford Model T was only 3 years old. Travel was still mainly by horse and buggy. Villages had 1 or perhaps 2 telephones. And most families still used an outdoor privy, an outhouse, because indoor plumbing didn't exist. I'm going to fade this music out and let you listen to the Curtiss pusher. Demonstration pilots boxed up their planes and rode trains with them from town to town, assembling and flying them from fields next to the rail tracks before moving on. The early Curtiss water-cooled V8 engines were wonderful performers for the 10 to 15-minute flights, but they were never intended for long cross-country flying. Fast forward to this year, when you see this full-scale replica of Eugene B. Ely's USS Pennsylvania airplane. A few differences you'll see as you visit the Curtiss pusher display. The airplane has flown to many Centennial of Naval Aviation events this year, logging flight time over much of the northeast and midwest of this country, flying many more hours and over much more challenging terrain than Glenn Curtiss ever envisioned. The Curtiss crew has landed at over 100 airports en route, bringing a small bit of naval aviation lore to the American heartland. Pilots Andrew King, Bob Coolbaugh, and Mark Holliday fly about 1 hour at a time. The Curtiss has over 2 hours of fuel, but the pilots are pretty much worn out after an hour. So that becomes the limiting factor. At a cruising speed of 55 miles per hour, that means we see a whole lot of America's small-town airports. We have the Curtiss crew volunteers who follow about naval aviation's first 100 years. Glenn Curtis, Eugene Ely, Captain Chambers, and the birth of naval aviation. That's where it all started in 1911. And when they get back down on the ground, we'll tell you where you can go to meet these modern-day barnstormers. To learn more about their flights, you can visit them after they land. Their primary sponsor is Wiley Aerospace. I hope you're taking pictures. Even if you got a point and shoot, get it out and take some pictures. This is a huge bit of history right here. Tell you from having flown in a similar type of aircraft, a replica of the Wright brothers' first military aircraft, the Wright B Flyer, that it is a handful. The aerodynamic lessons learned and applied to this airplane were at the time state of the art. But so much has been learned since. Every bit of additional technology and understanding developed from each subsequent airplane has led to the airplanes we see today. From the F/A-18 Hornet to the Boeing 787 Dreamliner airliner. The Curtis pusher is now in the downwind leg of the landing pattern, flying along with the wind. Bob Kulbaugh will steer the aircraft into his approach to line up and fly back into the wind for landing with very, very little crosswind. The winds are just about calm. And as our 1911 Curtis pusher lines up for its landing to conclude this brief look into the past, please take a moment to reflect on the vision of innovators like Glenn Curtis and Captain Chambers, on the courage of one pilot, Eugene Ely, and on their enduring legacy which we now celebrate at the close of the first century of naval aviation. We bring you this one chance to see what it was like at the beginning. Other carrier aircraft flying here today give you a glimpse of how far we've come. And who knows what the next century will bring.